this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. This season's Prestige Cup car is the 2024 M5 Sedan. I'm going to give you guys kind of a deep dive into this car. First of all, this car is relatively slow fully maxed, coming in only at about 7.6. Good thing about this car is that no matter what, it generally can beat dyno a little bit, and we will address that when we get later on towards live racing. Now, from a dyno standpoint, looking at the dyno here fully maxed, this car can easily also complete Tempest up to Tempest 3. So if you're still looking for a Tempest 3 car, you're going to build this anyway. Set this aside for Tempest purposes. Don't delete. License it, and you can use it in Tempest for all three. Now, one thing I like about having a BMW is that it's always easy to get fusions for BMWs. You can go to the dealership, purchase the M235i, as many as you need, strip them. I would do like a garage full of them and then strip them all at once. After I've used them for the purpose of doing race pass stuff. So it's a combination of benefits from buying these M235i's. You can, one, get parts. I prefer this one over the M4. We'll discuss that in a second. But I prefer this one because it's cheaper. Two, it's used quite often for the purpose of race pass. Although Tier 3 is also used a lot for race pass because there's that do 15, do 30, do whatever number of upgrades of Tier 3 cars and better. You don't want to do Tier 4, Tier 5 because they're very expensive. Tier 3 is what you want to upgrade. So you can get this one, upgrade it, strip it. You get those fusions you need for the BMW M5. You get these stage 6s you could put towards Amelia's M4 when you get that car. So there are any number of benefits from getting that. The M235i as well, if you actually put your lead tuner levels into it, in the old days it was only good for Tempest 1, Tempest 2 for Tier 2. Now it's good for Tempest 3, Tier 2, as long as you elite level it enough and fully upgrade it. So as you strip them, save those stage 6s. When you have enough to fully max the M235i, and you don't have another better Tier 2 car in hand, you elite level it enough to get it to run under 10s, and boom, you got a car for Tempest 3, Tempest 2, Tempest 3, Tier 2. Okay, back to the M5 Sedan. Let's take a look at the stage 6 effects of this car. You always want to consider stage 6 effects because it's important when you're trying to do Prestige Cup, when you're trying to set the car up eventually for live. By taking off all the stage 6s, you can see how much the time drops. It goes from 7 seconds to 9 seconds. So there's a 2-second difference when the car has stage 6 versus when it does not. So again, 9.262 is the starting point. This car tunes kind of interestingly in the sense that it doesn't really tune. You basically try to just put it to 2.0, 0-100, Nitrous on the right, and that's usually your best tune, which makes it easier when you're looking at the effects of the stage 6s, but generally speaking, that's how it plays out. So I'm not going to go through individual stage 6s with you for the purpose of keeping the video more reasonably length. So we're going to go and talk about each of them pretty quickly. And we'll talk about, as we put them in, the parts. You can see the jumps in the Evo. So the top 4 would be right here. Your transmission, tire, body, nitrous. It doesn't actually go in that order. I think the best one here might be transmission and body being very close. But so trans, body, then it goes kind of tire, nitrous. I have tire in right now. You can see it did gain some, but transmission gains more. Really what you want to watch is a combination of this and that. You can easily see transmission outperforming tire just from the numbers. So transmission, body is also very good. So here's body. Again, plenty of jumps. I'm going to list them in order in my video comments so that you will know which one is top, which one's next. So how much difference between these? Very little. So you're talking about each of these basically jumps from 9.2 to 8.9. In fact, we're going to go look at one of them, then we'll talk about the rest, just so you kind of get a better feel for how I'm approaching this. 8.904. Now, some stage 6s, it's easier to run the car and beat dyno than other stage 6s. For example, tire also puts you to, theoretically, 9.0, but it's harder to beat dyno with it, versus body, transmission, nitrous, and even engine. Once you put those stage 6s in, you still maintain that ease to beat dyno a little bit. So it's important to see the difference. As you can see, transmission is better than body, and then body is going to be better than nitrous. Nitrous and tire are very close, but nitrous kind of edges out tire. That kind of is how it plays out. And then the last three, these three are the sucky ones. So engine, turbo, intake in that order. So what you basically have is transmission, body, nitrous, tire, engine, turbo, intake. I may end up flipping tire and nitrous. In fact, rather than guessing, let's go and do that real quick. In the old days, I would give you like a more detailed breakdown if you think that's really helpful. I did something wrong. I didn't take out one of the stage 6s. There's no way tire's putting it to 8.6. I'll tell you that right now. Let's go take out body. Okay. All right. All right. So tire definitely will give you a drop, but it's not going to be 8.6. Now, combination push you into 8.6s very quickly. And then you have, so let's say you have body and trans, will put you to like 8.5. Body and tire obviously put you to 8.6. So those two combinations will help you. Now, if you're talking about having the eventual Prestige Cup car time being something like 8.4, 8.5, then you know what you need. Okay, top two stage 6s usually will get you there. Notice nitrous really didn't do much here. So looks like tire is definitely better than nitrous. So I had it flipped. So it would be trans, body, tire, nitrous, engine, turbo, intake. So that's the order. All right, so that's the order for the car. Now let's talk about the car itself with the shift patterns and live racing, right? Fully Max, the shift pattern is kind of skip to third almost. It's instant second and then quickly to third in nitrous. It gives you a under dyno run. When you have less parts, you may not want to do that particular shift pattern. Sometimes it's better to let the car run a few miles per hour before you start shifting it. So let's talk about a quick live setup. Now, there are two ways to set up any live car. One is with stage 6s and one is without. Generally, it is better to have stage 6s installed rather than not. Because this car is a gear skipper, as most new cars are, you do not need to have really high tire levels until later upgrade levels. Another thing about parts in general is engine on many cars carry a ton of performance points, and by dropping it, you actually gain evo. This is common with cars like this. Notice you put that actually goes down. Okay, so we drop engine off for now. Same thing with intake and turbo, but not all stages. Like if you take off 5 and 4, 5 and 4 tend to jump a lot of points. Let's go ahead and take them off first, and you get down to 656. And notice the evo still continues to go up. The thing about this car is that 656 and 1902 puts you in the 11-second lobby for this car. It should be like a 11.19, 11.2 range. Oh wait, 10.4. I'm confusing myself here. Sorry, 10-second lobby range at 10.4. However, 10.47 is not a great dyno. So you can use that dyno and run in there. You land in like the 10.6, 10.7 dyno range lobbies, but a lot of those cars can also run 10.4. So you're not getting a lot of advantage there. What you really should do is to put your car in a different bracket, either slower, like this, or add more parts and get faster. But the problem with adding more parts is once you're looking at 10.2 dyno running 10.0s, 656 performance points really about the limit. You don't want to keep going up beyond that, because 660s you should be in the 9s. Okay, and most decent cars would be in the 9s. So now you have a bit of a conundrum. Do I keep trying to go faster, or do I go a little bit slower? What is the best spot for me? That's going to be your discussion. Now, if I were to drop more parts to convert the car, I would probably drop body next to slow the car down. But you don't want to slow it slower than, say, low 11s. Here's why. Your points here and your points there once you get slower than 11.6, most tier 4 cars will dominate you because you're not at an optimal setup. They're going to have lower performance point, higher evo with the good tier 4s. They're going to be dyno as well. They're going to crush you. So I don't try to set up any tier 5 cars slower than 12. In fact, if anything, I try to put them at least at 11.2 dynos or faster. 11.5, 6 in the worst case. Those are not cars I usually like that much. But you want to definitely be lower here, higher there. But at this point, any parts you drop, you're going to start dropping evo. But if I can keep the car in the 11.2 dyno range, I would still be happy. 10.8 is not terrible either, but not great. If I were to do 10.8, I would probably go shoot more for 10.7 and then try not to have the car too slow. So live racing setup on this car is going to be a little bit trickier simply because it's not ultimately a super good car for it. Not to say it's not good. At 643, you're starting to get down into the 1700 evo points. That's really borderline being good and not good, but that'll put you at 11.19. So if you do something like this, you'll be in the 1700s, 11.257. This is a viable setup for no stage 6. Is it going to crush everybody in the lobby? No. But is it going to be at least viable? Yes. So that's one possible setup. Now, we're going to look at the stage 6 setup, which really changes the dynamics quite a bit. But let's go ahead and run a live here real quick. See what lobby we're in. 11.2 off lobby before the game really sees what's going on. We're going to have to see if, let me see. Doesn't look like anybody's, oh, I jumped out when that guy became available. Let's go back in. Shouldn't change lobby, it should be the same guy. All right, this is one of those new cars. It is somewhat low performance point, high evo, but he's a low ranking player. I doubt he has the car fully fusioned. Let's see how it goes. Now, let's talk about the ship pattern with this, right? You can do this where you skip to third and nitrous. Now, I find this to generally run a little slower than if I had let second gear be the nitrous gear. So it's not going to run super fast. So he did 11.5, I did 11.4. Not where I want to start off right away with something like this. Generally, first run, you want to run slower. Both of these are pretty good cars in here. So it's going to be tough for me to find an opponent that runs slower. This guy, for example, if he's skipping the fourth gear and nitrous, he'll be dyno by at least 0.2, 0.4. That could be an issue for me if I have to run him. So let's see what happens. I don't want to push my car too much. Okay, so I'm going to nitrous second, third. I'm pulling a lead, but that doesn't mean a whole lot with that car. The NSXR comes up pretty hard at the end. Although that particular one didn't run very well. Let's see. Yeah, 12.0. Yeah, he didn't run very well. I don't think he has his car set up properly. Oh, he re-challenged. Okay, one more race. Then we need to go back and try the other setup. All right, so here we go. Okay, so let it run a little. Second gear nitrous. All right, this time he's keeping up quite well. Notice he's coming. I'm going to let him have this, mainly because we need to leave. And I don't want another re-challenge. Okay, 11.6. Okay, that's where I want to be. I want to be in 11.6 with my 11.2 dyno and face cars that run between 11.5 to 11.8. That'll keep me winning because this car can also beat dyno. Now, let's go back to the 10-second setups. If you want to really push this car into a good, solid, low 10 setup, you're going to want something like this. Okay. With the stage 5, stage 6, that'll push you well into the 10.2s. So you really need stage 6 trans to pull that off. The thing about stage 6 trans is you still got to watch this number. The beauty is, without it and with it, you gain a bunch of performance without changing that. Notice we started at 656. We're still at 656. Okay? And just by doing that, I am now at 10.1. I don't want 10.17. I'd rather be in 10.27. So I'm going to tweak it. Something like this. 10.291 is fine. Mainly because I still want to see if I can land in 10.6 lobby with advantage. Now you're much quicker. You're going to face even better setup cars, but not necessarily. Tier 4s at 10s, low 10s to high 9s, they're starting to be close to fully maxed. Meaning they're not going to be as crazy effective as they were in, say, 12s and 13s. They're not going to crush you as badly. Doesn't mean they can't, but they're not going to crush you as badly. Okay, so I'm going to do my second gear nitrous. He's got the same car I do, so the question is, how's his setup compared to mine? I slowed down a little bit to beat him by low. Now, I think that was a 10.4 run, but yep, 10.4. He did 10.5, so I'm in the right lobby. This should be like 10.5, 10.6, because that car beats dyno. My car beats dyno, so good chance that. All right, this one in the 11s to 12s, this car is devastating, but in 10s, it's not going to be as devastating. It's starting to be nearly fully maxed. It's not going to have the ability to wreck me by dyno busting, but I should not underestimate it. It still has a high top end, so it's still going to come on pretty hard at the end. Notice it's pushing me, but it's not going to beat me. Okay, that is the difference in 10s versus a tier 4 versus, say, 9s. With the tier 4, it's even harder for them to pull off real crazy runs. And again, I'm racing some good players here. These are not brand new player like I did without stage 6. But I'm not going to push it. He's a swapper. Let's see what he does on this run. If he's gonna push it harder. I don't want to push my car too much in the beginning. It's for video purposes. I'm running it pretty hard, but generally I take some losses in the beginning to equalize my car in the slower lobby. I mean, the slower dyno times, get it settled, run it, and go from there. All right, so bot came up. Let me run him and give us a final take on where the car is lobby-wise, and then we'll go back and finish up this video. Okay, so again, with stage 6, the car is much more effective. Not to say that without stage 6, the car is not effective. The difference is the kind of opponents you'll face when you have stage 6 versus you don't have stage 6 can be quite different. You can have much better opponents once you put stage 6 in, because they have also better ratio cars. 11.9, so that's a 10.9 to 10.8 lobby. So I was running pretty fast in the lobby I was in. But again, I'm on a 10.2 dyno, and I'm doing pretty good. So more bots. All right, one final run since I'm already here. Okay, here we go. Right, so with the stage 6 trans, I am willing to go ahead and skip to 3rd for nitrous, and give me the key advantage here is, you know, the 3rd, the 2nd can make a little difference in how much you beat dyno, how well you run. 10.536 against 10.56. Oh man, this is why sometimes you want to leave and people are upset. They don't want you to leave. He's a lower ranking player. Probably felt he could run better. Let's go ahead and see what it can do. Okay, again, against this BMW, that Nissan, as good as it is, unfortunately isn't likely to pull past me. It's just the reality of it. Okay. All right, what do we got? 10.5, 10.5. All right, let's go back to run this car all at once on the dyno so you guys know exactly what it can do. So again, stronger with stage 6, weaker without. Both setups are fine, and there are a variety of setups you can do with this car. Adjusting the body stages, adding or subtracting some intake turbo stages can also work in the alternative. Just keep an eye on that. As long as that ratio is looking good, you should be good. Okay, let's go ahead and run it all out. I have a feeling I should be able to run a 10.1 at the minimum, and possibly 10.0xx if I run it perfectly. Right, so let's go ahead and see what it does. And 5th gear all out. 10.1s. Okay, probably 2nd gear nitrous would have pushed it a little bit lower than that. I'm not going to waste more time doing this. Play around with the shift pattern and you should be able to get it together. So let's sum it up. Okay, M5 Sedan, Prestige Cup car. In order to hit mid-8s, you need at least 2 top stage 6s, trans and body, or something combination of 3. For the purpose of live racing, generally speaking, low performance point, high evo, mediocre low performance point, high evo, not really good. But because it also beats dyno, it's a solid car to use. As far as Tempest, solid car, should be able to beat Tempest. One of the key advantages of this car, again, is BMW Fusions are extremely easy to come by, and therefore this is a car I built on my noob account as well. All right, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to make them. If you like the video, leave a like. If you like this kind of videos and would like to see them when I put them up, subscribe, hit the bell, and you get notified when I put up new videos. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.